Chapter 767. Faye raised her head and stared at Angie in terror. I don't know. The old woman let out a string of crackles. Because this place is in the middle of nowhere, and no one's going to disrupt me from torturing you. This place is also where I plan to bury Trevor's corpse. Faye said nothing. It was not the right time to speak. The owner of this place used to work for me, Angie continued. After I came all the way here, he had the nerve to tell me to have a peaceful discussion with Trevor. A peaceful discussion? What's there to discuss about killing my son? The old woman spat. Is it just because he's a super sanctuary expert, the strongest in Carden Province? Faye's chest lurched at the words. This old hag knew how powerful Wilbur was, but still had the nerve to challenge him. That was quite some confidence she had. Was she certain that she was stronger than Wilbur? Faye began to panic. She was not worried for her own safety anymore, but for Wilbur's instead. What if Angie had laid out a trap and Wilbur stepped right into it? The old hag saw the look on Faye's face and cackled again. Well, I fed that worker who owned this place and his family to the dogs. The old hag laughed harder, her voice turning maniac. Faye frowned. This old woman had really lost her mind. Just then, Angie whipped around to stare at Faye. 3 jet-black spell spheres appeared next to her. A terrifying aura entered Faye's body and soul, making her tremble all over. Just accept your fate. Both of you are going to join my son in the afterlife. But you're going to be punished before that. The spell spheres soared over Faye. A chain extended out from 2 of the spheres, wrapping around Faye's wrists and lifting her into the air. A long whip, alight with roaring black flames, shot out from the other sphere and began to strike Faye. A series of cracks sounded through the air at once. Faye's expression creased into one of agony. Not only did the whip hurt her skin and body, but Faye could somehow also feel the pain in her soul. She wanted to stay silent, but the pain was so terrible that she lost control over her senses completely. Arg! Faye screamed. A vicious smile appeared on the old hag's face as she lit up with glee. Over at Sea Lake Island, Eileen stared at Chester and Zeke lying on a bed each, her expression solemn. Both of them had been severely hurt. The spiritual energy in their bodies was in utter chaos and would not settle in the slightest. Because of this, there was no stopping their wounds from worsening. There seemed to be an invasive force running rampant in their bodies, making both men cry out in pain and agony every now and then. Farron, Elsa, Lily, and the rest stared at Eileen anxiously. Chester and Zeke were heavily injured. Faye was kidnapped and nowhere to be found, and Wilbur was not back yet. Eileen was the only one who could hold the fort now. She saw everyone looking at her, so she began channeling spiritual energy into Chester and Zeke to try and keep their condition stable. Her voice was ice cold as she said, Wilbur is on a flight back. He'll be here in a few hours. Nobody is leaving this island. We'll all wait here. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief at those words. This was the biggest crisis they had encountered ever since knowing Wilbur, one that put all of them in grave danger. The opponent had wounded Wilbur's disciples and kidnapped Faye. No one dared to imagine just how furious Wilbur was going to be when he got back. Not long after that, a plane landed in Seachertown Airport. Wilbur switched on his phone right after. His expression darkened at the sight of the incoming messages. This rage seemed to make the temperature around him drop significantly as an icy aura radiated from his bones.